Netflix's Daredevil show is one of the greatest superhero shows of all time. Coming off the coattails of Season 1, Season 2 introduces us to a myriad of different characters, plot lines, and themes. But do they hold a candle to the amazing bar that Season 1 set?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Thomas.
I'm Merlin.
Together we're the Comic Lads, and today we're taking a look back at the highs and lows of Daredevil Season 2.
Before we get into it, guys, we want to hear your thoughts. Comment down below where Season 2 ranks for you and what your overall thoughts are on it. It's kind of a divisive season, as we're about to get into.
Definitely the most divisive season.
Of the three, yes. So let us know what your thoughts are.
And lastly, before we get started, guys, make sure to drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. Smash the like button.
Smash it.
Smash.
And consider subscribing. Become one with the lads. Alright, so we have a lot of pros and cons to do with this season, but let's start on some of the positive notes.
Yeah, we should start with the good, because there is still a lot of good in this season.
Yeah, even though this is considered by most the quote-unquote worst that the series has to offer, it's still like leagues above other superhero shows and products.
Oh yeah, like it's not bad by any means. It's really hard to live up to the highs of Season 1.
It's kind of sandwiched between like two peak seasons.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like it's the middle child.
Yeah, you might say it's the redheaded stepchild of the...
Hey, hold up. No ginger slander. Oh, can I just say on a side note, I love this show, but I'm a little bit cheesed they couldn't have gone to ginger for Matt Murdock. I mean, we need some more ginger representation, dude.
Telling you, bro, anytime we're ever gonna get a new ginger character adapted into superhero content, they're always gonna be brunettes. Guaranteed.
It freaking sucks. We need some more gingers out there.
Yep.
But yeah, this show does have some shortcomings, but let's talk about the good first. I think we can all agree that the first half of the season regarding Punisher and his conflict and dynamic with Daredevil is some of the best that this series has to offer.
It's sublime. It's some of the best hero-on-hero conflict that we've ever seen.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel forced. It's just an absolute conflict of ideologies.
Agreed. Like, it has you understanding both sides.
Yeah, absolutely, because a little backstory. They kind of do like a light introduction to Punisher's origin story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the beginning days of him on his warpath trying to find the people responsible for killing his family.
Yep.
For the first episode or two, you see these like different crime families around Hell's Kitchen and New York getting gunned down by a mysterious figure.
Getting absolutely riddled.
Yeah. And when Daredevil does finally track him down, like you said, they have this amazing conversation on the rooftop where Punisher has Daredevil tied up and they're talking about the morality of killing and if criminals deserve it and if second chances are deserved when you've done the atrocious things they have.
It speaks to the strength of the writing and the characters when half the episode is just a conversation. It's a heated conversation, but it's just a conversation in a superhero show. You're completely gripped.
What they're saying is reasonable.
Yeah.
It's somewhat psychotic, but it's reasonable.
Near the end of their confrontation, you can see that he's chipping away at Matt's ideals.
There's this one badass line where he's like, you know, when you take a criminal down, they break out and do it again. When I take a criminal down, they don't get back up.
You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that.
And it just speaks to the whole conflict that Matt has not only in Season 1, but Seasons 2 and Season 3. People like Fisk, who's a reoccurring villain in the show. If Matt does kill him, like, problem solved.
Problem solved. But his ideals are so important to him because if Matt crosses that line and kills him, I don't necessarily think this, but I know Matt would be like, then what was the point of me even becoming a lawyer and fighting this long if I'm just gonna resort to quote-unquote the easy way out?
Another part of Punisher's story that I really like in this show is he gets very close with Karen Page.
Yes.
Karen Page almost plays more of a lawyer than Matt does this season. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Well, because Matt's off fucking gallivanting with his...
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Karen Page comes in and, you know, like we said, the first half of the season is very, very focused on Punisher. And Karen's there to kind of
keep him from, like, going over the deep end, I feel.
Yeah, but also help him, keep him focused on what the actual goal is, which is finding out who is responsible for his family's murder.
Yeah. I really love their dynamic, too, because it's a very wholesome relationship, and I like that it's platonic as well. Like, they could have so easily just, like, had it be like a seductive, like, oh, Matt and Karen are supposed to be together, but Matt likes Elektra and Karen likes Punisher, but they don't do that, and I'm so thankful for it. It's just like two people that care about each other and want to help each other.
She wants to help him because she wants to get to the bottom of it too.
And because she also believes that he's not fully a monster.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of John Bernthal as Punisher?
I think it's one of the best castings in anything ever. RDJ Iron Man, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, John Bernthal Punisher. It's disgusting how good he is. It makes no fucking sense how good he is.
I know, it's insane.
It's ridiculous.
I know, he actually looks like comic accurate too, like ripped straight from the pages. Yeah, and he just plays Punisher with such ferocity, dude.
Yeah, like menace.
And I love that, like, there's very few lines he won't cross, but it's clear that his life is very much in black and white.
Yes.
Like, there's this great moment where he goes into a little pawn shop or something.
It's like
And he goes in there and he gets some weapons from this guy.
Yeah, he goes to get a gun and then, like, some police, like, surveillance equipment.
Exactly. And, like, straight off the bat, you know that that's wrong because it's illegal.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. It's just a means to an end, you know?
Exactly. But as he turns away, the shopkeeper says, like, oh, like...
Yeah, he can't keep his mouth shut, bro. He's like, are you sure I can't interest you in anything else? What do you like? BDSM? Oh, how about this one? She's barely 12. And you're like, oh, it's finished.
Yeah, and it's like, as soon as that line is crossed, he has to punish him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he turns the sign to closed, and
you're like, hey, this guy's cooked.
The scene cuts as soon as he hits the guy with his baseball bat, but you know that guy is hamburger meat.
Yeah, and I like it too because in those moments, and this happens a few times throughout the show, you know that Frank isn't enjoying it. It's almost like it's his duty to do it.
I'm with him, bro. It feels cathartic. Like, as soon as that shopkeep says that, I'm like, bro, explode this guy's head.
It's like the themes of the show bleed onto the viewer too.
Yeah.
Harkening back to that conversation between Daredevil and Punisher, you really do understand throughout the first half, like, where this conflict comes from.
Even though it's such heinous and, like, brutal violence, you're so on board with Frank for, like, almost the entire thing.
Absolutely. So for the first half of the season, that's very much what Daredevil is focusing on. I think another highlight we got to get into before we get into the cons of the show, once again, the action and choreography and fight scenes.
Dude.
I think there's an argument to be made that they top season 1.
I think so too.
Yeah.
There's a few key ones. There's the stairwell scene, which is a marvel in cinematography. And there's also that Punisher prison fight.
Oh my god.
Bro.
Yeah, so at a certain point, obviously, if you guys have seen it, you know, Punisher gets caught, he's sent to prison, and Fisk, even though Kingpin is in prison and is incarcerated,
he's still a force.
Yeah, he's still an influence, and, like, he double crosses him and gets him to take out the quote-unquote, like, leader of the prison, you know, the big mob boss there, so he can then control the prison himself.
And once Punisher kills him, he sets him up. Obviously, Punisher washes them. Bro, it's a wash fest.
It's one of the most brutal fight scenes I've seen, not just in superhero entertainment, but in just, like, everything.
Anything. It's fantastic. And the last guy that he takes out falls face first onto Frank's chest, and the blood from his throat and on his face makes the first Punisher skull on his prison uniform. It's genius!
But I love that they don't, like, shove it in your throat.
No.
Like, you know, MCU...
It's not perfect.
No, MCU would be like, I guess I'm some kind of Punisher. Or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, you just got punished or some shit. But it is kind of like a blink and you'll miss it thing. But when you do, you're like, oh shit, it's kind of making a skull.
You're right. I remember I only noticed it on my second watch, and I was like, oh, these guys are fucking cooking, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, the production is just top notch. Oh, also, just a little other pro. Matt, thank God, gets a different cowl this season.
Oh my god, yeah, he had to.
Punisher literally does the audience a favor and, like, blows his first cowl to smithereens, dude. So he gets another cowl. It's a lot more comic accurate. It looks like it actually, like, fits.
It's got some really nice red lenses over the eyes. They look really menacing.
Yeah. The show, at a certain point, about halfway through, they put Punisher on the back burner. They could have made the entire season about him, in my opinion.
They probably should have.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he should have just been seen as, like, the big bad, and it would have been a more interesting conflict for Matt and coming to terms with giving people second chances or ending them for good.
Yeah.
But halfway through, we do get introduced to where the show starts to kind of decline in this season.
Yeah, and that's with the Elektra / the Hand hotline.
Like, literally comes out of nowhere.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Matthew.
after like fucking 17 episodes of wanting Matt and Karen to finally like seal the deal and have their first kiss and get together, they do, and then he gets home and Elektra's there, and you're like, oh, I can't have anything.
Yeah, we're cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally finished.
It's so cute the date he goes on with Karen. Like,
Yeah.
they go for like Indian food and they go to this like nice, like sparkly restaurant.
Yeah, but then he's reintroduced to Elektra, and listen, it's comic book accurate, but I hate it.
Yeah, and you mean comic book accurate, like,
Matt being a fucking douchebag.
yeah, like he's considered one of the number one players, but not even like in a cool Tony Stark
No,
way.
he's not even a player. He just like, Coochie is his kryptonite. He's just like, oh, Elektra's back, which means we have to bang.
To be fair, for the first few episodes she comes back, Matt is very much
Hesitant?
hesitant and rejecting her because she basically comes in and, you know, pulls the whole like, oh, I know so much more than you think, and like,
Yeah.
together we can take down the Hand. In their first interactions, he's very hesitant because he knows what a chokehold she can have on his life, and that's explored in some really great flashback.
Yeah, like their first meeting and the entire sequence of her misleading him into thinking they're just going on like a fun night out, you know, just like messing around. And she actually takes him to his father's killer.
Kind of pressures him to actually kill him.
And you're like, I just met you.
No, so it's clear that Elektra's unhinged. I do like the flashbacks where you see them together. I think it adds a lot of history and world building.
Agreed.
To Matt's character. But yeah, Elektra comes in, completely derails the show, and it creates this kind of non-existent love triangle. Like, it's not like Matt is like, oh, who should I be with, Karen or Elektra? It's like the first half of the show, he's into Karen and they're like on the cusp of getting together, and then Elektra comes in and he just neglects both Karen and Foggy.
Yeah, and it's so shit too, because it's like, yeah, she's beautiful, but like, that's it though. Like, Matt has this choice of like, oh, who should I choose? Karen, who is amazing and loves me clearly and is an incredible human being, or Elektra, who is the most toxic human on the planet, tried to make me, like, force me to kill people, and has completely derailed my life and is, like, making my law career plummet down the toilet. Oh, I guess I'll go with Elektra. And you're like, I hate you, Matt.
Yeah, and speaking of law career, something that they did heavily in season 1, and they actually will do in season 3 also, hopefully not Born Again, is this conflict and dynamic between Matt, Foggy, and Karen, where his life as Daredevil always pushes his friendships to the side. They do that in the first season between Matt and Foggy especially, you know, with Foggy finding out Matt's true identity as Daredevil.
And it works very well in season 1.
It works very well, but in season 2, retreading the same ground with Elektra around,
He leaves all the Matt Murdock stuff on the back burner and is like, I'm just gonna do stupid Daredevil shit for no reason all the time.
yeah, and it's up to Foggy and Karen to basically take the reins of the Punisher plotline and see it through to the end.
He's leaving Foggy with this, like, unwinnable case.
They did that same plotline in season 1. Foggy was off on his own doing all the lawyer jargon while Matt was doing all the Daredevil stuff, and their friendship was falling apart. In this, the season 2 picks up, it's the same thing. Matt and Foggy are like a team. They got cases coming in the door at Nelson and Murdoch.
Yeah, and then the minute Matt gets hurt at all, he's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, Matt. This is fucked up. And you're like,
Yeah, and it's like the whole thing falls apart.
yeah, it just feels like we're not moving in any direction.
And it also creates kind of frustration because the big reason why season 2 is kind of a mess is that there's no cohesion. You know what I mean? If like all these things were happening and they were actually related to each other, if they found a way to tie the Punisher storyline into Elektra's storyline with the Hand and creating tension between him, Foggy, and Karen, it would make sense. But it's like these two storylines going on at the same time
That don't mesh at all. Every time Elektra keeps coming in with like some bullshit new mission, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah. The one part of her plotline that I do like, that kind of has some emotional stakes for me, is that in season 1, we didn't mention him so much in our first retrospective video.
Yeah.
But we're introduced to a character called Stick. He's kind of like the Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul, and in season 2 they reintroduce Stick. And at first, Stick actually sets up Elektra's return in Matt's life to unknowingly convince him to join their war against the Hand.
When it's revealed to Matt, he thinks like that, oh, it's all been bullshit. But like, I don't think Elektra thinks that. Like, genuinely, I think Elektra does love him.
The double agent falls in love with her mission, basically, you know? And it definitely creates some tension between the three of them, Stick, Elektra, Elektra and Matt.
But then it ultimately ends with her death. I think this is just another, like, shit Matt moment where, like, oh, Elektra dies, and then the next day he's like, Daredevil.
He comes to her, it's crazy, and it's like he admits that Elektra is his one true love. Minutes before she dies, they're about to face down the hand together for the final time, and she ends up dying, tragically, in Matt's arms. And then at the end of the episode, he pulls up to Karen, and he's like, sorry, I've been such an asshole.
Yeah, it's like, my gold medal just died. I gotta go tell my silver medal that my secret identity. Ew.
It feels icky.
Yeah.
That's another reason why this season falls short, is they make Matt kind of unlikable.
He is extremely unlikable for the entire season.
So all in all, season 2, the first half of the season with Punisher and the conflicts and moral dilemma that comes from it,
It's a 10 on 10.
it rivals and in some ways surpasses season 1.
I agree.
But as soon as Elektra comes in and hits us with that, hello, Matthew, we're cooked, bro. Too many plot lines that don't intersect.
That aren't trying to service the show itself. They're instead trying to set up a shitty Defenders show. You know what, bro? Season 3 is still great.
Despite all of our complaints, season 2 is still very enjoyable, I'd say.
Yes, I think we've been so adamant talking about our perceived cons with this season just because we love the show so much and it's so good, and it was frustrating to see it kind of like fall off track halfway through the season. It's just a very frustrating plotline.
Absolutely. But that is our retrospective review of Daredevil Season 2. Let us know what your thoughts are on the show. Are you a big fan of it?
And stay tuned for our Season 3 retrospective.
We're trying to get all of these episodes out before the launch of Daredevil Born Again and really take a deep dive at the history of this show. Thank you for watching. We love you.
We love you dearly.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.